Hello, I'm Juliette Dragus.
I'm Nick Lefebvre. WZZM-13 News at 5 starts now.
WZZM-13 News, on your side.
And this is a look outside from our downtown Grand Rapids tower cam. There have been a few passing showers. The weather story of the day, though, the falling temperatures. And I'm here in the Weather Center with meteorologist Laura Hartman and Chief Meteorologist George Lessons. And we are feeling more of the chill, but we're also looking ahead to the weekend and a lot of rain as well as concerns about flooding.
Yeah, Juliette, the big story, of course, was not only the showers that passed through, but also the big cool down in temperatures. That was really dramatic for us today. I think everyone's noting that as they walk out the door. We're down to 48 degrees in Grand Rapids, and check out Ludington, 42. Now, a lot of us to the east are still in the 50s and 60s, which is where we started off the morning. But wow, what a big difference from just this time yesterday. If you remember, we made it up to the 80s. Your 24-hour temperature change shows about 30 degrees for most of West Michigan, so big changes, and we're going to stay on the cooler side, at least a little bit more comfortable tonight, but that is going to be a chillier Friday for us in store. Currently, winds, they're going to be from the southwest, and they're about 21 miles per hour sustained in Grand Rapids. We've got gusts upwards of 30 to 35 miles per hour, so it is breezy out there too. That means it feels even colder than those actual temperatures, and still cloudy, no breaks in the clouds just yet, but the showers not too present. We're going to see maybe a couple sprinkles, the clouds mainly though staying for the overnight. Heading into Friday, we'll still see mainly a dry day, which is good news for us. We do certainly need to dry out, but that is not going to be the case through the weekend. And George, we're going to be talking about some tremendous rainfall that's coming this weekend.
I haven't seen the models put out this much rain perhaps since back in 1981.
Oh.
It is certainly going to be a very wet Saturday night. I'm going to show you the scenario on how that works on out. Got a big low pressure system that's going to be developing coming into California. It is going to pick up a lot of Gulf moisture. It's going to be wide open for several days as the storm system moves on up into the Great Lakes region. So the rain will start later on Saturday and last through Tuesday. And this is our global forecast system model. You can see heavy rains. That's 4 inches or more in that brighter yellow color all the way from Oklahoma up through Missouri, Illinois, and even a spot here in West Michigan. So it is possible that we could see a lot of heavy rain. The heaviest will occur over a 36-hour period. That will be from Saturday night through Monday morning. 2 to 3 inches is very likely. I say there's about a 90% chance that everyone will see 2 to 3 inches of rain, and there could be some areas with up to 5 inches of rain during the entire event. The National Weather Service is a direct quote from them. Small rivers and streams may rise rapidly or abruptly, so residents along those area waterways should monitor them closely, and that will be again on Sunday through Tuesday. And the rivers will remain high, and they'll peak middle part of next week, and they may not crest until next weekend or beyond. So we got a very wet weather pattern shaping up for the weekend. You want to stay tuned right here. Juliette?
Thank you, George. We here at WZZM-13 keep you up to date on the forecast and, of course, all severe weather. But another important tool for staying informed, a weather radio. We've partnered with Midland Weather Radio to help you be weather aware when severe weather does threaten. The radios are available at area Meijer stores where you can get your own, and the devices can be programmed to send out an alert when a severe weather warning is issued. As always, you can track weather conditions with the WZZM-13 weather app. It is a free download for both Apple and Android devices, and you will find the most up-to-date weather forecast along with the best interactive radar where you can see what's happening on a street. The same features are also available on our website, WZZM13.com.
The video looks fun enough. Large fish jumping out of the water because of the sound of passing boats. But it's just one form of Asian carp, invasive species of fish that have damaged the ecology of lakes and rivers where they've spread. And scientists believe if the carp make it into Lake Michigan, they could also cause billions of dollars worth of economic damage to the big lakes fishing industry. And we've been reporting on the threat from Asian carp for years. Now, there's a new federal study suggesting Lake Michigan is ripe for the picking, with plenty of food for the fish if they make it that far. WZZM-13's John Mills has more from a man who does fish research in Muskegon.
This new research suggests that Asian carp wouldn't spread randomly around Lake Michigan, but follow coastlines to areas like Muskegon Lake. The study by the U.S. Geological Survey says Asian carp could survive and grow in parts of Lake Michigan. That would adversely affect the ecosystem and fishing industry. Asian carp in Lake Michigan would have a big impact on the base of the food web because they eat plankton. It's what all fish eat when they hatch.
Reality is we really don't know what's going to happen until they get here, but we don't want to do that experiment.
Professor Carl Reitz teaches at GVSU's Annis Water Resources Institute in Muskegon. Reitz reviewed the new study. It's based on satellite images taken over 3 years, showing Lake Michigan's coastlines have sufficient near-surface algae for bighead and silver carp to survive.
When you do this modeling, they have to make lots of assumptions, but it's sort of the best we can do to kind of get a sense of, what we think the threat is.
The study suggests, and Reitz believes, Asian carp would follow those coastline passages to reach other bodies of water that connect to Lake Michigan.
More of the river mouths, the embayments of places like Green Bay, Muskegon Lake, Lake Macatawa, those are the kind of habitats that have, lots of algae.
Survival for Asian carp is even more likely in those areas. It's why Reitz and so many others are counting on strict rules and regulations, laws and policies, and electric barriers to keep Asian carp out of Lake Michigan.
Hopefully it gets the public's attention so that they are aware of this issue. I think a lot of us who live on the lakeshore are well aware of it.
Scientists still have a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to the reproductive requirements for Asian carp, and this study does not address that issue. In Muskegon, John Mills, WZZM 13 News.
Give you a little bit of background on this. Now, Asian carp, they were brought to the U.S. more than 4 decades ago to help farmers. Owners of commercial catfish farms in the southern United States imported them to control weed and parasite growth in their stock ponds. At the time, biologists thought it was a pretty good idea, but the carp eventually got into the Mississippi River, began making their way north. The federal government has since put in, as John told you, electric barriers near Chicago in hopes of keeping the carp out of the Great Lakes.
Who tried to start a fire in a family's Lake County home by throwing a Molotov cocktail through a child's bedroom window? Well, that is what investigators are trying to find out. It happened early this morning near the Idlewild community, about 70 miles north of Grand Rapids near Baldwin. No one was injured. WZZM 13's Megan Bunchman is in the information center, just back from talking to Lake County deputies about this early morning attack. Megan.
Juliet, this was no random act of violence, according to the sheriff. He bases that on the weapons that were used and the location of the home, which was off of a side road, not a major highway. And although he's not naming any suspects at this time, the sheriff assures me that they are aggressively pursuing multiple leads.
It wasn't something done at random.
A 2:30 wake-up call one family in Lake County will never forget.
In this area, I haven't seen one yet.
As many as 4 Molotov cocktails were thrown at and into this home near Idlewild.
It's a very quick ignition technique when you're wanting to start something like a structure on fire.
While some of the devices ended up being duds, one smashed through the home where Mickey Mouse curtains once hung, landing in the bedroom of a 5-year-old girl.
The fire department did a very good job, and it looks better from the outside than it does on the inside, but the house is going to be a total loss.
The young girl, her older sister, and parents escaped the home unhurt, but the nightmare they are now living has touched the entire community.
Things can be replaced, but people cannot be replaced, and I'm glad that we're not talking about something different right now.
The parents did not want to go on camera because they're afraid of another attack. But they tell me waking up to the screams of their little girl was terrifying, adding that they're on good terms with everyone and don't understand who or why someone would do this.
All that information and all the items that were collected will be sent to the State Police Crime Lab.
As of right now, deputies are investigating this case as arson, but say
there's enough evidence there to have that would sustain an attempted murder charge.
The Michigan Arson Prevention Committee has also offered up a $5,000 award for any tips that lead to an arrest. Juliet.
Thank you, Megan. A Detroit hospital group has fired an emergency room doctor facing federal charges of mutilating the genitals of young girls as part of a religious practice. Henry Ford Health System released a statement this morning announcing the termination of Dr. Jumana Nagarwala. She appeared in federal court this afternoon, entering a not guilty plea to mutilation and conspiracy charges. Investigators accuse her of cutting the genitals of 2 girls at a clinic in Metro Detroit. Federal prosecutors have also charged another doctor and his wife in connection with this case. Genital mutilation is part of a religious custom outlawed in the United States.
Commanders say 2 members of U.S. Special Forces were killed in combat overnight in Afghanistan. The deaths happened during an anti-ISIS operation in the Achin district of the Nangarhar province. That's in eastern Afghanistan. It is the third American service member death in that district this month alone. The Achin district is the same place, by the way, where the U.S. Air Force dropped a so-called Moab bomb, the largest non-nuclear bomb in the American arsenal. That bombing took place April 14th. Pentagon, meanwhile, launching a new investigation into payments President Trump's former national security advisor Michael Flynn received from foreign governments. Lawmakers say Flynn took those payments after the Defense Department warned him not to. Leaders of the House Oversight Committee released documents today that show the Pentagon issued a warning to Flynn in 2014 after his retirement from the Army. Flynn earned tens of thousands of dollars from Russia's state-sponsored RT television network and from a Turkish businessman linked to Turkey's government. He resigned in February after lying to Vice President Mike Pence about his contacts with Russian officials.
United Airlines makes a money deal with that doctor dragged off a flight against his will.
And a controversial pet shop opens its doors in Granville. We're going to take you to their first day of business at the Barking Boutique.
And cancer was supposed to kill him. Instead, he's going to the prom. The latest display of resilience from this West Michigan teenager later at 6 o'clock. I don't know about you, but I definitely was spoiled by that warmer weather because today felt like fall to me, even though it looks like spring now.
Yeah, it was just a shock to the system going outside to get the mail. Real concern, however, is the rain that's going to be starting this weekend, George, and it could be substantive.
Absolutely. I've not seen this much rain on any computer model in a very, very long time, coming in such a short period of time. So if you've got some storm drains down the street or in front of your house, go clean them out because they're going to need all the help they can get. But we do have a dry Friday on the way and warmer. 13 weather ball is red tonight. Back to a little bit warmer, more seasonable weather ahead. And this view brought to you by Countryside Greenhouse of Allendale. We may open up a few breaks here now and then during the overnight hours, but temperatures are going to continue to stay in the 40s. The winds should start to die down a little bit after dark. I know they're a little bit breezy now, down to about 8 to 16 miles an hour, and eventually they'll be out of the southwest at 5 to 10 here by the time you wake up in the morning. Check the temperature trend today. This was at 5 o'clock this morning, getting down into the upper 50s and low 60s, but can you tell where the cold front is? Starting to move across Lake Michigan, and then it hits the lakeshore. Temperatures drop like a rock into the 40s. Made 70 in Lansing for a little while, and then right up until the present time, temperatures have dropped into the mid and upper 40s as expected, and it feels a lot colder than that. That's why I have the winter jacket back on out here on the weather deck. A changeable day over in Holland from the Windmill Island Gardens. Tulips took a beating here today. There was some morning rain showers as expected, and then this afternoon just cold temperatures, mid and upper 40s, a breezy southwest wind, about 21 miles an hour at the present time. You can see on the satellite and radar composite, we've got a few breaks in the clouds, but virtually no rain coming down, just a couple of sprinkles here and there. And the best chance for sprinkles tonight will be over the northwest counties, and that will be this evening as low pressure departs off to the north and east. And again, staying cloudy overnight, and I think it'll take a while for skies to become partly cloudy during the day tomorrow, but once the sun does come out, temperatures should skyrocket back up into the low 60s. Look what was going on over in Wisconsin. Some snow there in northern and central Wisconsin. Rick and Nap Dana sent this by Twitter of the snow on, yes, it does snow in the month of April. Look at the current temperatures up here. Low 30s, at least that air is going on up into Canada. We're going to still see our winds out of the southwest and eventually turning around to the east over the next few days. We'll start to bring back some of those 60s into the area. But all eyes are on this big storm system that is barreling into northern California right now. This is a strong jet. It's going to dig out a big low pressure system by Sunday. That's going to open the Gulf of Mexico to bring all the rain right up into your lower Michigan. And that storm system will stop over northern Wisconsin. We're going to be on the warm side of it eventually, but a lot of moisture is coming on in. 2 days worth of moisture out ahead of the system, and then we're going to stay cool much of next week as well. Look at this big deep trough of low pressure that sits overhead by the end of next weekend, but that's effectively also going to prevent any more rain from coming into the weather picture. Temperatures here tomorrow back up into the low and mid 60s. We'll be in the mid 50s with a stiff east to northeast wind on Saturday as the rain starts later in the day. And this will be late in the day on Sunday in the low 50s, because most of the day we will be in the 40s because of all of the rain and wind that we'll get with that next system. This is our global forecast model showing the rainfall amounts. I haven't seen this much, as I mentioned, on a map. This is going to be all the way through Tuesday. Some areas here in West Michigan, 2 to 3 inches. This is 2 to 3 inches right in through here. And down towards Chicago, points further south, there could be 4 or more. For tonight, though, sprinkles to the northwest counties, mostly cloudy elsewhere. Overnight lows mid to upper 30s. The winds will start to come down later this evening. Mostly cloudy up north. Overnight lows between about 36 and 39. It'll feel colder than that with that southwest wind, especially this evening. From Grand Rapids south, will be mostly cloudy as well. Overnight lows around 40, plus or minus a degree or 2. Again, the wind should be lightening up out of the southwest, but they'll still be 8 to 16 here this evening. Forecast then, afternoon or evening rain Saturday. Saturday night, maybe a rumble of thunder and rain, heavy rain Sunday night into early Monday, and then just some scattered showers on Tuesday. But highs Tuesday only in the 40s once again. 13 on target forecast. And then dry weather settles in starting Wednesday of next week through the following weekend. So this will be the weekend to do indoor chores, next weekend outdoor chores, maybe some cleanup. And of course, the rivers will not reach their highest point, guys, until the middle to latter part of next week, because it does take a while for those rivers to react to all the rain that we're expecting.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on your forecast, George. Thanks.
There are events this weekend for both beer lovers and fans of maple syrup. Got a preview behind the mitten.
And later we'll get a look at how Michigan football players will do when the NFL draft kicks off tonight.
You're watching WZZM-13 News at 5.
Investigators in Delaware say a 24-hour standoff with a suspect in a state trooper's murder ended with that gunman's death in a shootout. It started yesterday morning when 32-year-old Corporal Stephen Ballard was approaching a vehicle in a convenience store parking lot after seeing 2 suspicious people inside the car. One of those men opened fire, killing Ballard. The gunman then ran away and barricaded himself inside a house. This morning, the suspect came out and fired his gun again.
At 9:17 a.m., the armed suspect exited the residence and engaged police. He was then shot by law enforcement.
Delaware troopers this morning escorted Corporal Ballard's body after it was taken from a hospital to a funeral home. Investigators still don't know what led up to yesterday's deadly shooting. Tonight, Arkansas is set to hold its 4th execution in an 8-day span. An inmate who killed a former prison worker is set to die by lethal injection. But the family of the murder victim is hoping the Arkansas governor will put that execution on hold. Kenneth Williams is scheduled to die by that lethal injection tonight. In 1999, Williams was serving time for the death of a college cheerleader when he escaped from prison in a barrel of hog slop. While he was out, Williams killed a former deputy warden. The warden's family says Williams deserves to spend the rest of his life in prison, but should not be put to death. Williams' execution would be that 4th in Arkansas since April 20th. Michigan lawmakers today approved a measure to send $100 million in federal funding to address the lead-contaminated water crisis in Flint. Congress approved the money in December. The state legislature had to sign off on the funding. The cash will be used to replace corroded pipes that leached lead and to update the aging water mains as well as infrastructure. 3 years ago this week, Flint switched to using the Flint River for drinking water as a cost-saving measure, and that's what led to the contamination problem. People in Flint are still forced to use water filters or bottled water. We'll tell you how an Ohio woman kidnapped and buried under a shed was rescued. And later, a woman gets into a pepper spray fight with police, and she was topless.
An Ohio man accused of kidnapping a neighbor and keeping her trapped in a small pit will stay in jail for now. A judge has set bail $1 million for Dennis Dunn. The victim's mother reported her missing early yesterday morning. A short time later, police found the 30-year-old woman buried under a shed in Dunn's yard. Evan Millwood has more.
What has shocked those who know her family the most is hearing Jennifer Elliott's mother is the one who first heard her. Screaming inside a dirt well just 2 foot by 2 foot and 40 inches deep.
Sweetest people you'd ever want to know.
Elliot was inside this shed on Central Avenue for at least 4 hours, trapped under wood and anything heavy police say Dennis Dunn could find.
I get chills thinking about it.
I mean, as a mom.
Right. I mean, I've got 3 kids.
I can't
imagine.
People like Lisa Crawford, who know her family, as disturbed as the rest of this community of 4,000.
It's just a shock. It's complete shock. He was a good guy.
Emily No calls herself one of Dennis Dunn's best friends.
It's just really scary knowing that I've known somebody for 5 years and wouldn't see something like that in somebody.
Mental health will be an issue in this case. Blanchester police say they had 4 previous encounters with Dunn. Last October, Elliot reported harassing phone calls and texts. On April 1st and 2nd, he called saying people were trying to get into his home. On the 2nd, neighbors then saw him outside with a gun, and he was sent for a psych evaluation, but released and called police again, hearing pounding on his window on April 4th.
I think Dennis probably should have been in an inpatient facility. If he wasn't in an inpatient facility, then he wouldn't have been able to commit this crime.
That was Evan Millward reporting. We're going to take you to a new business in Granville. It's facing protests even before today's grand opening, and see how United Airlines is changing policies in the wake of that scandal over a passenger who was dragged off of a flight.
WZZM-13 News, on your side.
Now at 5:30, a pet store that generated a lot of controversy before it even opened is now up and running in Granville.
Barking Boutique opened for business today in a shopping center. It's on Wilson Avenue, just south of 28th Street.
Animal groups have protested against the store, accusing the owner of getting the dogs he sells from puppy mills.
But we did our own checking and verified the owner gets the animals from federally regulated breeders.
WZZM-13's Jaleesa Irizarry is live in Granville now with the boutique's first day of business.
Yeah, Nick and Juliet, all is quiet outside the Barking Boutique right now, but the owner, David Bolkus, is expecting protesters. He's preparing for them, but he's not going to let that deter him. Now, he opened up the store today with 11 puppies for sale. The owner walked us through the process they go through when purchasing these pups, including behavioral checks and visits to the kennels. Now, they also have information and photos of each kennel they go to and records of the animal's health and bloodlines. Now, when we asked Bolkus his take on the protest, he says he's not going to let it deter him and simply invites those who are leery to have a look themselves.
Have an open mind and look at what we have to offer. And if you're against breeding altogether, then that's something that you're just going to be against breeding altogether. So, we really invite people to come in and explain to them why we are here.
Now, there were protesters out here yesterday evening as the store held a puppy preview. Another protest is scheduled for Sunday afternoon. Reporting live in Granville, Jaleesa Irizarry, WZZM-13 News.
Police are now investigating 2 fires at the same Grand Rapids house yesterday as arson. They happened at a home in the 800 block of Kalamazoo Avenue. The first started before 6 in the morning on the back porch. The second happened later that morning in the basement. Police are trying to find a suspect. Anyone with information should call Grand Rapids Fire Prevention or the Arson Control Hotline, and you can see the number right there on your screen.
2 people arrested during an immigration protest in downtown Grand Rapids last week are speaking up. They, along with their supporters, held a rally outside of the courthouse this morning. They appeared in court today for charges related to the protest. Police say the group blocked traffic on the I-196 off-ramp downtown. One protester says he was arrested on purpose to show his support for the immigrant community.
The idea was I wanted to get arrested to help bring some attention to this situation with immigration.
Our fight is dignity, respect, and permanent protection for all immigrants.
The group is part of a national movement pushing for immigrant protection. They're going to be holding another march May 1st at Garfield Park starting at noon.
A Kentucky doctor forcibly dragged off a United Airlines flight earlier this month has reached a settlement with the airline. That settlement comes hours after United announced new policies to prevent incidents like this. The story's dominated headlines for weeks and focused attention on the way airlines treat their customers. WZZM-13 consumer reporter Sarah Sell is in the Information Center now with more on the settlement and the steps the company is taking to improve relations with passengers.
That's right. Well, among the changes announced are increased incentives for giving up a seat and reducing the amount of overbooking. United says it will now offer up to $10,000. Another change, law enforcement won't remove passengers, and United crews have to book seats 60 minutes before departure. The changes come after a rough month for United Airlines customer relations. On April 9th, Dr. Dow was forcibly removed from a flight by aviation officers when he refused to give up his seat to make room for a United crew who needed to work a different flight. Dr. Dow was left bloodied and injured in the altercation. Today, passengers at O'Hare Airport say they're happy about United Airlines changes, but are concerned that they were implemented after the incident.
It's a good reaction to, how they really messed up in the first place.
If that incident hadn't happened, would they have ever changed? I don't think so.
Dr. Dow's lawyer also announced today that they have reached a settlement with the airline. The amount of the settlement was not disclosed under the terms of the agreement, but lawyer Thomas Demetrio praised United CEO Oscar Munoz for his handling of the dispute. As part of the deal, Dow agreed not to sue the city of Chicago, whose Department of Aviation police officers physically removed him. Nick and Juliet.
Thank you, Sarah. Boy, we'd sure like to know how much that check is worth. Let's go to weather now, and feeling more of that chill at the moment. Rain, that's a bigger concern coming this weekend. George, now the Weather Center to talk about what we can expect.
More cool weather here tonight, but no rain. It'll be dry right on through Friday. Right now, we're looking at cloudy skies, kind of windy out there. In fact, wind gusts between about 9 and noon today. We're up around 40 to 50 miles an hour at the lakeshore. Really didn't have much effect on the waves at the present time, but it has had a bit of effect on our temperatures. We have dropped into the 40s as we talked about yesterday. There may still be a couple of sprinkles of rain expected this evening, but wow, what a change from yesterday. As much as 30 degrees colder. We were up around 80 yesterday. Now we're down to around 50. Otherwise, again, a couple of sprinkles of rain certainly possible during the overnight hours, but mainly just cloudy skies. And then the big rain event starts Saturday afternoon, Saturday night through Sunday. There could be several inches of rain that will lead to more flooding, especially on the area rivers. We'll take a look at how much rain is expected this weekend. That is a little bit later on.
All right, George, thank you.
Football fans across Michigan will likely hear some familiar names announced at the NFL draft.
That starts tonight in Philadelphia. WZZM-13 Sports Director Jamal Spencer here now with a preview, and it's a big day, Jamal.
Always is for this league. Predicting the NFL draft is a bit of a crapshoot, but these four players have a good of a chance being selected early. Perhaps the safest bet is Western Michigan's Corey Davis. Many expect the record-breaking Bronco to be the first wide receiver taken in the draft. He did have ankle surgery in January, and he says he's about 85% recovered, but it doesn't appear that teams are too concerned with that. At one point, Michigan's Jabril Peppers was considered by some to be a top 5 pick. It's doubtful that's the case anymore. Scouts still aren't sure what position he should play in the NFL, and on Monday, he tested positive for a dilute drug test sample. However, he still could be a first-round pick. Scouts seem divided on Michigan State's Malik McDowell. Some rave about the defensive lineman's talent and potential. Others have questions about his work ethic. McDowell played through injuries and constant double teams before missing MSU's final 3 games of the season. He too may wind up a first-round pick. Finally, there's Michigan's Taco Charlton, whose draft stock rose with big games against Ohio State and Florida State. He finished the year with 10 sacks in his only season as a full-time starter. A few analysts have him sneaking into the final few picks of the first round. As for the Lions, many expect Detroit to select a defensive player, either a defensive end or a linebacker, with the 21st pick. But in all but one of the drafts this decade, the Lions have taken an offensive or defensive lineman with their first pick. The exception, tight end Eric Ebron. How can I forget that pick? In 2014, the 2007 NFL draft begins tonight at 8 o'clock.
All right, we're all going to be watching for sure.
We will give you a rundown of some fun events to enjoy around Michigan this weekend.
And children inspired by the world's most famous giraffe become authors.
And then at 6 o'clock, wherever you are, power outages are a pain. But one report says they happen more often here in Michigan. We verify if that is true.
This weekend, Michigan features events for people who love maple syrup, craft beer, or the music of the Beatles. John Gonzo Gonzalez gives us a preview behind the mitten.
Hey everyone, John Gonzalez here from MLive.com, and of course the Behind the Mitten radio show. What's going on this weekend? Well, right now
Amy and I are finishing up our search for Michigan's best sub sandwich, and we're not at a sub shop right now. We're at a brewery, with the Grand River Brewery in Jackson, Michigan. I'm with John here, the owner, and tell us a little bit about Grand River Brewing, what you guys have going on.
Well, we're in our 4th year now.
4th year?
We're going to have our anniversary at the end of June, and we've got a Cinco de Mayo festival going on, and we're releasing a Pepino Loco.
Love it.
Which is a cucumber lime beer that's an excellent beer, real refreshing. And then we have Crawfest on the 21st of May. It's in conjunction with the Rotary Club, and we hope to have about 1,000 people here eating crawdads and Cajun food.
Sounds like a lot of fun, folks. Amy and I named Grand River one of our best, favorite, top new breweries in the state of Michigan. Like John said, they've only been open for a few years, but if you're in the Jackson area, come down here at Grand River. Not only do they have great beer, award-winning beer, including the Monkey Mouth, but incredible food. They even served us a grinder last night. You guys are crazy.
Best grinder in the state.
It's unofficial. Stop. Unofficial stop.
Unofficial.
All right, let's get to some events taking place this weekend. If you love maple syrup and maple syrup festivals, you can head over to Shepherd, where they have their famous festival going on this weekend, today through Sunday. A lot of events planned for that. And then also in, where else? Vermontville, over between Hastings and Lansing, is a little town called Vermontville. They also have a maple syrup festival as well.
You would expect that, wouldn't you?
Vermontville, yes. A couple beer events going on this weekend. Don't forget, Shorts has their anniversary party up in Bel Air, and our friends over in Lansing have Beer Fest at the ballpark. Both of those events are on Saturdays, so make a choice. You can head up to either one. The Beatles, that Magical Mystery Tour is going to be at DeVos Place this weekend. Performances through the weekend, so if you're a Beatles fan, definitely check it out this weekend. What's coming up behind the men? Well, Amy and I go to Traverse City on Cork, the month of May. May is wine month. You knew that, right?
Of course.
Yeah, he's a wine guy too. And you can have that for a lot of events. Amy and I tell some really cool stories about the people that you can meet and all the events taking place in Traverse City, Michigan. This weekend, or no, month of May, there was always something going on in TC, so make sure to tune in Sunday, 6 o'clock on News Radio 1300 and 106.9 FM. Take care, everyone. You'll find all links, everything, including how to get here to Grand River, WZZM13.com.
Well, dry weather now settles in through early Saturday, but heavy rain expected Saturday night through Monday with possible flooding as a result. Here's a look at the rainfall almanac, running a surplus for the month of April, the season of spring, and 2017 so far. Well, a rapid drop in temperatures earlier today has led us back to wearing the winter jackets for at least overnight tonight. 13 weather ball tonight is red, and that means warmer weather ahead returning for tomorrow, back up to where we should be. And this view brought to you by Countryside Greenhouse of Allendale. Check out when the cold front came through. That was right around noon. You can see the temperature dropped 10 degrees between 11 and noon here at Grand Rapids, and we've now slipped into the upper 40s. As we told you, things would have happened here during the day today, and that wind is picked up out of the southwest. Now this evening, our temperatures are going to be dropping down into the upper 30s and low 40s, and then we'll be back up into the low 60s tomorrow. But we'll see a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. I think we'll be partly cloudy at times before some high clouds move in from the west. Other than that, dry day. This will be the only dry day of the next several. Weather headlines, we've been talking about it since last weekend. Heaviest rain will now occur between Saturday night and Monday. A widespread 2 to 3 inches of rain is likely, and some areas could see up to 5 inches of rain. Haven't seen this much rain on a model in a couple of decades. The National Weather Service is saying small rivers and streams may rise abruptly, especially on Sunday, so residents need to pay attention if they live along a small stream or a river, because the river levels are going to come up very, very rapidly. Outside right now, it's just kind of cloudy, a couple of sprinkles across the lake. We will see mainly cloudy skies overnight. Wouldn't be surprised if there is a sprinkle of rain, but they've had snow up here in Wisconsin, some staying on the ground, but we're going to be staying cloudy overnight. We'll open up those breaks tomorrow. Look at the difference in temperatures out ahead of the front, 60s and 70s. We're in the middle of the cool air in the upper 40s. It's in the 20s and 30s back to the west. That is moving this way on up into Canada. we will just see temperatures returning to closer to average here during the day tomorrow. Big storm system barreling into northern California is going to take a deep dip down to the south. It's going to pick up a lot of Gulf moisture here over the next 48 hours. And there we go. And we'll see that moisture come right on up into the Great Lakes region, actually all the way from Oklahoma on up into the Great Lakes region for about a 72-hour period. And that means it's going to rain a lot. It's going to rain very heavily, and then it's going to stay cool as cooler air just filters its way down for the end of next week. So don't expect temperatures in the 70s and 80s again. They'll most likely be in the 40s and 50s. This is our global forecast system model. Look at this heavy rain. This is over 2.5 inches to 3 inches right in through here, all of West Michigan, and that's through Tuesday morning. Wouldn't be surprised there's some areas that get even more than that. That's going to cause a big rise in the area rivers, especially early next week. Bullseye with colder than average temperatures for May's 3rd through 7th here in West Michigan. That means highs will not be in the mid-60s. They'll most likely be in the 50s. And in terms of rainfall, we're going to get a bit of a break, near to maybe even below average amounts of rainfall. So cool and dry, we'll take that for the early part of May. I'd rather have warm and dry, but cool and dry is just as good. A couple of sprinkles of rain, Hart, Ludington perhaps this evening, mostly cloudy elsewhere. 37 to 39 for overnight lows. Those southwest winds start to come down about 8 to 16. Mostly cloudy, mostly dry up north. You'll eventually dip down into the upper 30s, maybe as cold as 36 in Fremont. And here in the greater Grand Rapids area, we'll dip down to around 40, plus or minus a degree or two. The only river flood advisory right now, Grand River near Ionia. Expect a lot more of those here the next week. 5-day planner, heaviest rain coming Saturday night through Monday morning, then scattered showers in the afternoon Monday, and next Tuesday, a very chilly day. There may be some instability, rain showers with highs in the 40s. 13 on target forecast. Then Wednesday through the following weekend, that's when you get back out and do your yard work. Readings will be back up into the low to mid 50s to start, and then we'll get up closer to 60 to the low 60s by the first Sunday in May. Kind of topsy-turvy, but very wet this weekend.
All right, thank you, George. An Ohio woman is facing charges after police say she tried to spray an officer with mace. And the woman, she was topless at the time. Columbus police released in-car video of the incident, which happened early yesterday morning. Officers were holding the woman in the backseat of a cruiser. She told them she would mace them if they opened the door. When an officer looked through the cracked rear window to check on her, she pulled out a can of mace and tried to spray him. The officer avoided the shot. When the woman flipped him her middle finger, he sprayed her with pepper spray. Investigators are not saying why the woman was initially taken into custody or why she may have been topless. Ask anyone to name a giraffe, and after her constant presence on the internet over the last couple of months, they'll likely say April. We'll show you how that new giraffe mom inspired West Michigan elementary school students to become authors.
April is now easily the most famous giraffe in the country.
Oh yeah, the giraffe at a wildlife park in New York State captured the nation's attention over the last few months with that live webcam streaming video of her in the weeks leading up to her giving birth.
A group of 2nd and 3rd grade students at Beach Elementary in Cedar Springs, they are among the millions of people who of course kept track of April and the birth.
Now they've created a picture book about it called April's Baby.
I had it up once and I had a couple kids go, "Oh, I'm watching that at home." And then a few more kids, "Oh yeah, we're watching this too."
The first time I was able to see it, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool," because she's gonna have a baby.
The world is absolutely in love with them.
I thought it was an excellent awesomeness.
Each student that's here drew a picture somewhere in this book. It might be small, it might be big, but it's in here. And then we have one student that actually designed the cover.
I drew the picture where the world was listening.
The population of the giraffes are declining by a huge amount and very fast. And so it's a good chance for the kids to see that if, things don't change, their children and their grandchildren will not have these animals.
It kind of brought everybody together to just celebrate the birth of April's baby.
She doesn't know she's famous and she just is a giraffe doing giraffe things, but she has this huge mission, is to bring awareness of the plight of the giraffe.
I drew April pulling the measuring tape like this.
This is our next generation, and they need to be stewards of our world and our environment.
That is so well done. You can buy the children's book, April's Baby, on Amazon, and all of the money raised will go toward helping the giraffes at Animal Adventure Park in New York, where April had her baby. And we have a link to where you can purchase the book on our website, WZZM-13.com.
Well done, kids.
Really, really good.
It's cute. Is Michigan one of the worst states for power outages?
It is, according to a new report. We verify that claim next at 6.